Samantha Markle has issued a second legal challenge against her half-sister Meghan Markle. Samantha has appealed the dismissal of her defamation lawsuit, which was originally filed over remarks Meghan made during her interview with Oprah Winfrey in 2021 and on her Netflix series Harry and Meghan the following year.
Probably when I was maybe 9 or 10, I would get like scratched or spit at, hair pulled, that type of thing.
I remember one morning, Noelle was sitting at the table eating breakfast, and she had a pair of...
Meghan Markle is now caught in one of her biggest legal battles yet. Her half-sister, Samantha Markle, isn't backing down. And this time she's coming back with an even stronger attack. The appeal isn't just about what Meghan said in the Oprah interview or the Netflix series. It's about intent. Samantha's lawyers claim Meghan carefully built a storyline aimed at destroying her sister's reputation, and they say they've got proof. Reports mention emails, texts, and even production notes showing a coordinated PR plan.
Has personality profile that perfectly enables.
Add in the aftermath of life threats, stalking, and emotional trauma. And suddenly Meghan's version of events looks less like truth and more like biased storytelling. Judges are now asking if her polished interviews crossed the line from simple opinion into calculated attacks. And if internal messages really show pre-planned strategies, the fallout won't stop at court. Meghan's Hollywood projects, brand deals, and even whispers of royal involvement could all collapse overnight. If she loses, it could set a dangerous, new standard for defamation in the age of influencers and celebrity media. Meanwhile, on the royal front, things are no cleaner. The very issue Harry and Meghan swore to shield their children from is now fueling a firestorm. Tom Bower, a writer infamous for explosive claims, has dropped the boldest one yet. He suggests Archie and Lilibet might not even be Meghan and Harry's biological kids. He insists surrogacy wasn't just a private family choice, but a tightly guarded secret, possibly with layers still hidden. And let's be honest, this isn't just about parenting style. It's about legitimacy, heritage, and royal succession. If there's truth to what Bower suggests, it's not just scandal. It's a wrecking ball aimed straight at the monarchy's foundation.
You're absolutely right. I mean, what I discovered was, of course, that she was hunting for a man in England from 2013 onwards, when her marriage had crashed and she couldn't find anyone in Canada at the time. And she wanted wealth and she wanted fame. And she targeted, there's no doubt she targeted Harry, and found someone who was a childhood friend of his who could introduce them. And then on the days before they met...
Harry, once the cheeky prince adored by millions, is now the punchline of endless memes and mockery. Some insist he's just a fool being dragged along by Meghan. Others believe he's an active player in a deception cutting through centuries of royal tradition. Either way, insiders claim he's unraveling, pacing rooms, snapping at staff, and spiraling over every headline. For a man once praised as the voice of mental health, the irony is staggering. Meghan, meanwhile, is described as cold and calculated. No meltdowns, just lawyers, threats, and lawsuits to kill the story. But here's the twist. The harder she tries to silence it, the louder the questions get. People point to those picture-perfect pregnancy shots, the strange timelines, the missing medical proof, the absence of hospital photos. Why did it all look so staged? And the harder they push for silence, the more the whispers grow about what's really being hidden. Another red flag is the distance between Archie and Lilibet and the rest of the royals. Unlike William and Kate's kids, always seen with Charles, Camilla, even the late Queen, Harry and Meghan's children are barely photographed with senior royals. Is that coincidence, or the palace quietly pulling back? That matters because this isn't just gossip. It has consequences. If the kids were born through surrogacy, that's one scandal. But if outside donors were used, and the bloodline isn't what people were told, that's not gossip, that's a royal earthquake. It would shake the very line of succession, something the palace cannot afford to leave in doubt. And here's where Tom Bower steps in. He's not known for harmless chatter. His record of exposing the monarchy's darkest secrets is long, and often accurate. Now he's dropped what could be the biggest bombshell yet. One that could destroy not just Harry and Meghan's carefully crafted image, but their entire place in royal history. Yet through all this, the Sussexes remain silent. No denials, no DNA tests, nothing. Just silence. And silence doesn't kill suspicion. It fuels it. If there's nothing to hide, then why not prove it?
I choose people who don't want to be written about on the whole, whose lives are shrouded in mystery, and they want to hide their secrets, and I just love digging away to find out what they don't want us to know. I wrote 4 years ago a book about Prince Charles, and it was a story about how he had rehabilitated himself after Diana's death, and how Camilla also had to be rehabilitated, and it was a #1. It was a fascinating story. So when Meghan came along into the scene, I just thought, this is fascinating. How is this going to play out? To tell the truth, I spoke to very few friends of Meghan because she put a fatwa on anyone talking to me who she could. So I sent off dozens and dozens of emails to her friends, and most of them didn't even reply. And obviously I spoke to her father, who loves her still very much, and said, in the end, whatever she is, she's still my daughter. You can't beat the real story. I mean, that's the excitement of writing these sort of books, that in the end, nothing beats the truth, the real fact.
That's why the calls for DNA testing are getting louder every single day. What once started as quiet whispers has now exploded into a public demand across social media, tabloids, and even mainstream TV debates. Hashtags trend, panelists clash, and everyone keeps asking the same question. If Meghan and Harry truly have nothing to hide, then why not just take the test? From a PR standpoint, this is a nightmare. Their entire brand was built on the image of a modern fairy tale family. 2 parents, 2 children, and a glamorous Montecito mansion. But now the cracks are showing. And these aren't small surface cracks. They're deep, structural ones that no staged photo or glossy Netflix documentary can cover up. For Harry, this scandal cuts deeper than anything before. Fatherhood has always been his redemption arc. In interviews, he's repeated again and again that everything he does is for his children. He said fatherhood grounded him, saved him, and gave him purpose. But now critics are asking the one question no parent ever wants to face. What if those kids aren't even biologically his? That changes the entire story. Suddenly, this isn't just a PR problem. It's an identity crisis. The boy who once walked behind Diana's coffin as a symbol of strength is now painted as either a naive puppet or a willing accomplice in a cover-up. And neither role works in his favor. One makes him look weak, the other dishonest. Worst of all, both make him look powerless. A man who doesn't even control the story of his own family. Behind the gates of Montecito, insiders describe the atmosphere as suffocating. Harry is said to be unraveling, pacing the halls, snapping at staff, and obsessively consuming every rumor, article, and video online. He's dissecting photos, reviewing Meghan's pregnancy timelines, and spiraling over Bauer's claims. The stress is reportedly keeping him awake at night, and it shows. For someone who built his public image on mental health advocacy, the irony couldn't be sharper. The so-called therapy prince is now trapped in a cycle of his own paranoia. Meanwhile, Meghan is sticking to her playbook. Reports say her lawyers are working around the clock to shut the story down before it gets bigger. But every cease and desist letter only makes the public more suspicious. Instead of killing the noise, it's fueling the fire. People are asking why fight this hard to bury something unless there's at least a grain of truth in it? And then there's the silence from the palace. No word from King Charles. No public photos with Archie or Lilibet. Not even the routine royal birthday greetings. Compare that to William and Kate's children, who are regularly celebrated by the family. The contrast is glaring. People are asking whether this is coincidence, quiet suspicion, or something the royals have known all along. One theory is that this distance isn't punishment, it's protection. By keeping Harry and Meghan's children at arm's length, the monarchy may have been insulating itself from a scandal they feared could erupt one day. If that's the case, this isn't just gossip. It's a royal reckoning. If the institution itself has doubts, then Archie and Lilibet's place in the royal bloodline isn't a conspiracy. It's a crisis. The pressure on Harry and Meghan has moved far beyond curiosity. It's now full-blown suspicion. Even respected journalists and longtime royal supporters are demanding answers. And the question is simple. Will they take a DNA test? It might sound extreme, but after every other path to transparency has been blocked, people are saying, what else is left? They had countless chances to shut this down, release medical records, clarify timelines, or simply offer proof. Instead, they chose silence, vague statements, and legal threats. But in the court of public opinion, silence doesn't look like dignity anymore. It looks like guilt, and the damage may already be permanent. Harry, once admired for his rebellious courage, now looks like a man unraveling. Friends from his military days have reportedly pulled back, and insiders whisper he's unpredictable, swinging between bursts of anger and unsettling silence. Those close to him say he's lost his sense of self, not just as a royal, but as a man. Fatherhood was the one thing he clung to as his redemption arc, and now even that is under scrutiny. Meghan, on the other hand, continues her strategy of deflection. Her lawyers draft endless responses and send out threats. But lawsuits don't answer moral questions. If anything, they strengthen the criticism that the Sussex brand is built on control, not truth. And the public isn't forgetting. They remember the Netflix specials, the polished Instagram photos, the big speeches about authenticity and breaking generational pain. Now, when the couple refuses transparency about something as basic as their children's origins, the hypocrisy stings harder than ever. And still the royals remain silent. No statements, no gestures of support, nothing. Insiders claim Charles has been advised to keep his distance because even one photo or word of support could explode into scandal if the rumors ever prove true. Behind the scenes, whispers of contingency plans are already happening. Conversations about succession, titles, and what happens if Archie and Lilibet are proven to be born through means the monarchy doesn't recognize. Would they lose their titles? Their place in the line of succession? Nobody knows, and the palace isn't offering answers. What is clear is that the fairy tale is collapsing. The carefully crafted image of a brave prince and a modern duchess building a new life outside palace walls is crumbling under the weight of secrecy, and the more they dodge the truth, the heavier the burden becomes. In the end, everything may come down to one decision: take the DNA test or not. One path could silence critics, the other guarantees suspicion will follow them forever. Because questions about bloodlines don't just disappear, they linger, they fester, and they define how history remembers you. Harry and Meghan gambled everything on a story of freedom and honesty. But now that story is being torn apart by suspicion, silence, and one relentless question. Who are Archie and Lilibet really?
Yeah, so Meghan Markle's half-sister, who is, I believe, 16 years older than her, changed her last name back to Markle. I believe her legal name is Samantha Grant, when Meghan started dating Harry. During the Oprah interview, Meghan said that she hadn't seen her half-sister in about 18 or 19 years, and before that, it had been like 10 years since she saw her last. Meghan's half-brother and half-sister are from her father, Thomas Markle's first marriage. I don't know where my finger is here. And Samantha has always painted their relationship as being more close than Meghan has. Meghan has said she virtually grew up as an only child. Samantha said, no, our two separate households were very close. So as far as what this signifies, Samantha Markle has cozied up to several British tabloid reporters, giving interviews, selling a tell-all book. So you tell me what changing her last name to Markle signifies.
Legal insiders warn this case could rewrite how defamation works in the age of social media. If Samantha wins, it sets a dangerous new precedent. Celebrities won't be able to hide behind the excuse of just telling my story. Suddenly, their words could carry heavy consequences when those words trigger real-world damage. And in Samantha's case, she's not a global superstar with a platform. She's a private individual. That imbalance makes the fallout even bigger, because it asks the hard question. Should a royal duchess be allowed to destroy her sister's reputation with carefully crafted sound bites, knowing millions would believe her?
Where Samantha's claiming that Meghan Markle defamed her in the Oprah interview and in Netflix's Harry and Meghan docuseries the following year. Judge Honeywell determined that Samantha, quote, failed to identify any statements that could support a claim for defamation or defamation by implication, and said that Samantha merely disagreed with Meghan's opinions rather than statements of fact. Now, Meghan is famously estranged from her half-sister, half-brother, and their father, Thomas Markle. When Oprah asked Meghan about her relationship with Samantha, who had at the time written a tell-all book about her sister, Meghan said, I think it would be very hard to tell all when you don't know me. She added, I don't feel comfortable talking about people that I don't really know. And that is what Samantha was so fired up about. Meghan's attorney told media yesterday, we're pleased with the court's ruling dismissing the case. But Samantha Markle's attorney says that
Meghan isn't just being accused of throwing out a few cruel remarks. The claim is much bigger. She weaponized her fame. Samantha's legal team argues the damage went far beyond reputation. It broke her mentally. Mental health experts are prepared to testify that Samantha suffered trauma, PTSD, and ongoing anxiety tied directly to Meghan's comments and the storm they unleashed. Reportedly, there are therapy transcripts, medical records, and prescriptions ready to prove this wasn't a small reaction. It was a full-blown mental health collapse that changed Samantha's life forever. And Meghan's lawyers know the scariest part is still ahead: discovery. If this case advances, Meghan could be forced to hand over private communications, texts, emails, even production notes tied to those blockbuster interviews. That could include exchanges with Netflix producers, Oprah's team, and her own PR advisors. Samantha's attorneys want everything, not just to prove Meghan's words were wrong, but to prove the entire story was pre-planned, that Meghan knew exactly how explosive her statements would be, that she aimed to damage her sister, and that the fallout was used to fuel her brand.
It was probably when I was maybe 9 or 10. I would get like scratched or spit at, hair pulled, that type of thing.
I remember one morning, Noelle was sitting at the table eating breakfast, and she had a pair of her tennies in the middle of the living room, and Samantha started screaming at her to get her effing shoes out of the middle of the floor. That was the start of a tirade, and that's my effing daughter, and I'll treat her how I want to. I'm not beating her, is what she told me.
She said if it's not bleeding and there's nothing broken, there's no...
So if you haven't seen this video floating around the internet, this is Samantha Markle's mother and younger daughter. Yep, you heard it right. This is Thomas Markle's ex-wife and granddaughter, describing how abusive Samantha Markle...
The whole "just telling my truth" defense falls apart fast if private records prove there was a staged plan behind the scenes. And that's exactly what Meghan's legal team fears most. This fight isn't just about sisters clashing, it's about protecting the entire Sussex empire. If Meghan loses in court, the damage won't end there. Hollywood producers, big brand partners, and media backers are already watching every move. Samantha's lawyers don't just want a legal win. They want to shut down the entire Sussex narrative machine and stop it in its tracks.
Samantha Markle has issued a second legal challenge against her half-sister Meghan Markle. Samantha has appealed the dismissal of her defamation lawsuit, which was originally filed over remarks Meghan made during her interview with Oprah Winfrey in 2021 and on her Netflix series Harry and Meghan the following year. Samantha alleged that Meghan's depiction of a rags-to-royalty background and her statement about being an only child were false and damaged her personal and professional reputation. Recent court documents obtained by The Sun and filed shortly before Meghan's birthday on August 4 reveal Samantha's allegations. Meghan knew exactly what she was doing and how to do it. She destroyed Samantha publicly and on a global scale. Meghan has made it so Samantha cannot work or even enjoy the most mundane of activities like going to the grocery store without her. The appeal requested an oral hearing, but a date has not yet been confirmed.
Court insiders are already stirring headlines, and Meghan's defense team is staring at a nightmare. Judges in the appeals court aren't brushing this aside. They're picking apart Samantha's claims line by line. Reports say they're even questioning if Meghan's media training and PR tactics undercut her excuse of innocent storytelling. That's the danger. It's not just what she said, it's how calculated and rehearsed those words may have been. The whole case could hinge on what experts are now calling biased storytelling. Samantha's appeal paints Meghan as someone who didn't speak to heal or inspire, but to twist perception and damage others. Meghan's polished statements, paired with internal records, are being spun as proof that her interviews and documentaries weren't about truth at all. They were about framing, optics, and leverage. And it's no longer just lawyers pulling this apart. Court-appointed experts in psychology and communications have been brought in to study Meghan's on-camera delivery. Their job is to decide whether her words came across as genuine or staged. If they rule that her statements were scripted to target Samantha, that alone could wreck her defense. Because once opinion looks like a coordinated attack, it loses its legal shield.
So she had the opportunity, if we were misunderstanding something, to set it straight and to take charge in a positive way.
The discovery phase could blow this case wide open. Sources claim internal emails, texts, and planning notes between Meghan's camp and Netflix producers hint at a master plan for how her family would be portrayed. Reportedly, terms like control fallout, steer narrative, and strategic distance from Samantha appear in those exchanges. If these files land in court, they could prove intent beyond doubt. And this is no longer just a sister feud, it's creeping straight into royal territory. Samantha's team is reportedly probing whether the monarchy itself knew of or even backed some of Meghan's boldest claims. If that's true, the fallout won't stop with Meghan. The royal machine itself could be accused of aiding and defaming private citizens. Word is Buckingham Palace is already scrambling, with legal advisors frantically weighing potential risks. And if subpoenas drop, Meghan may not be the only one on the hook. Royal aides, press officers, even senior family members who messaged her could all be dragged into the spotlight.
We hadn't had her fallout with her. We didn't have a closeness to be able to have that. And I wanted a sister.
Samantha also claims that Meghan projected a false rags to royalty narrative, which came at the expense of demeaning Samantha and their father's reputations.
We lived in a normal little house in Woodland Hills, California. Little cul-de-sac street, nice neighbors. So when the media suggested that she was this Cinderella that just rose up out of rubbish or out of nowhere, no, that is rubbish.
Meanwhile, Hollywood is quietly shifting gears. Insiders claim studios and streaming giants are pressing pause, with deals once sealed now hanging by a thread. Thanks to morality clauses, contracts can be shredded the moment a star becomes toxic, and a defamation ruling could trigger a domino effect of cancellations. Public trust is on trial too. Meghan built her empire as the voice of the voiceless, but if a court rules she used her platform to crush someone with less power, that image disintegrates. Samantha's lawyers are expected to lean hard into this contrast. Meghan's polished speeches about compassion against the devastating emotional wreckage she allegedly caused behind closed doors. And then comes the financial storm. A single victory for Samantha could open the floodgates for other relatives or past associates who feel burned by Meghan's carefully crafted narrative. Legal experts warn that if one domino falls, the chain reaction could be unstoppable. At this stage, the courtroom isn't just about law. It's the arena where Meghan's reputation, her global brand, and her legacy hang by a thread. So, what do you think? Did Meghan weaponize her platform to destroy her sister? Or is this just another chapter of royal chaos spiraling out of control? And if those internal documents surface, could it be the beginning of the end for the Sussex story? Drop your thoughts below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because this saga is far from finished.